In an era of cinema run amok with computer graphics, camera trickery, and exhaustive editing, it is reassuring to know there are still directors out there who crave authenticity in their movies, and actors who will destroy their own bodies to make sure they get it. As awesome as real flesh and bone stunt work looks though, it's not always the easiest thing to capture. It can require months of training, days of shooting, and even hundreds of thousands of dollars to make sure it ends up looking right in the final cut. But when it's done well, as this lot all definitely were, these moments of anything but computer-generated action often leave audiences' jaws hitting the floor. So I'm Gareth, this is What Culture, and here are 8 ridiculous movie stunts you won't believe were not CGI. Number 8, Casino Royale sets the world record for car flips. So, all of the creatives in the film industry are pretty much just big kids. And although it's the actors who get paid handsomely to play make-believe, it's actually the people behind the cameras who indulge their inner child the most often, and in the most grandiose ways. Take, for instance, the following scene from Casino Royale, in which Daniel Craig's version of James Bond narrowly avoids turning a damsel in distress into roadkill. There seems to be no rationale behind it other than, wouldn't it be sweet if we spent today completely destroying one of the most expensive cars on the planet? Yes, it would. The car veers at the last second, causing it to flip over not once, or twice, or even a paltry 6 times. No, that thing flips over 7 times in a row. Why 7? Because the world record for most car flips until then was 6. Yet that was the entire reason they decided to use a nitrogen cannon to literally blow the car into the air and aim high for this ludicrous amount of destruction. They could have cut away after the car veers, switching to a model car and some good old forced perspective to replicate what we saw in the film. But then where's the fun in that, eh? And speaking of car stunts, I want to know right now, what is the best car sequence you have ever seen in a movie? You let me know in the comments section down below. Number 7, Mad Max Fury Road is non-stop stunts. Despite being a very stylized action movie, none of the stunts in Mad Max Fury Road were rendered using CGI. Not one, in 2015. That, in and of itself, is a pretty staggering feat. Instead, stunt coordinator Guy Norris brought together the world's most expansive collection of stuntmen and women to perform every last motocross jump, every bit of Cirque du Soleil pole work, and every ridiculous car/tanker crash. Particularly insane is a huge set piece toward the end of the film, a chase scene which involved the use of more than 75 vehicles, which Norris lovingly refers to as the dancing truck sequence. The amount of individual stunts performed in this one scene is borderline masochistic, and it would honestly be surprising to learn that at least one person didn't stop the action to suggest that, hey, maybe we just paint in a couple of these things in post? I have children, come on, what do you say? George Miller said not in his movie, baby. Number 6, Old Boy's corridor fight is basically real. The original Old Boy features what is perhaps one of the messiest fight scenes in all of Asian cinema. For a climactic revenge scene, recently unhostaged Oh Dae-soo faces off against a long corridor of henchmen who have wronged him. And once the director yelled action, no one stopped until every last bad guy had been beaten within an inch of his life. No cuts, no sleight of hand, and no pulled punches. It may not be as flashy as all those scenes in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon that had people flying around on rooftops, but it's impressive because it features what is essentially a real fight. The star of Old Boy, Choi Min-sik, has a basic philosophy on why you should always fight for real rather than fake your punches. According to him, we actually have to fight when we shoot to make it real and to save film and time. Because apparently, stitching up faces and popping shoulders back into place between takes is faster than rehearsing how not to hit somebody. Each to their own. Number 5, Donnie Yen improvises most of a fight scene. We all know the drill about Hollywood action stars and fight scenes, right? They usually go through months of training in whatever style of fighting they're supposed to be portraying in the film, and spend another few weeks rehearsing specific fight choreography so that it all goes smoothly on the day of the shoot. Well, Hong Kong has a slightly different approach with their action stars. Let them figure it out on set. That was the case with Donnie Yen and the combatants he squared off against in 2005's Killzone, called Sha Po Lang in Hong Kong. Rather than waste everyone's time planning things, Yen would grow tired of staging the choreography and instead just say to his attackers, I want you to attack, then I'll come at you and I want you to react. Right, what could go wrong? And just in case any of you out there think it would be easy to just toss in a few improvised punches here and there, you should know that this fight scene features a baton and a blade. So when Yen says he wants the guy to react to his random attacks, he's supposed to be defending with an admittedly dull blade, without stabbing Yen in the fingers or eyeballs or any of his other delicate places. No pressure then. Thank you very much for checking out this What Culture video today, my friend. And if you are enjoying your lovely self, then hit that subscribe button down below and you will get more of these What Culture videos speeding into your life. Number 4, Zoe Bell rides the hood of a speeding car. It's rare for an actor to do all of their own stunts, particularly when those stunts could legitimately kill them. Yes, Tom Cruise is one exception to that. Zoe Bell is a different kind of example though, because she started her career as a stuntwoman, filling in for the likes of Lucy Lawless in Xena Warrior Princess and Uma Thurman in Kill Bill. When Quentin Tarantino saw how much of a badass she really was, he decided to cast her in 2007's drive-in style slasher flick Death Proof, giving her the role she was literally born to play, Belle. He cast her with the idea of Belle performing all of her own terrifying stunts, so that he could film them close-up, gleefully showing the audience that this was no camera trickery. That is actually the lead actress getting thrown around on the hood of a muscle car going 50 miles per hour. The only safety precaution was a small harness that Belle hid under her costume. Yep, that is utterly insane. Think about that the next time you feel unsafe on a Ferris wheel. I know I will. Number 3, Michelle Rodriguez strapped to a tanker just for fun in Fast and Furious. Whenever the makers of the Fast and Furious movies realized that Vin Diesel and his family were going to be a permanent fixture of their series, they decided to start dropping cars out of airplanes. Why not? That's what we are now, they probably said. But even for a franchise built on big, dumb action set pieces, the decision to attach one of their lead actresses to the back of a moving semi-truck with a flimsy strap that probably wouldn't keep a piece of rye toast attached to a golden retriever for longer than 5 minutes was probably not the smartest move. For a scene which involves stealing entire tankers filled with gasoline, Michelle Rodriguez's character dangles off the back of a semi for some barely rational reason. And rather than use quick cutaways of a stunt double, the director decided he'd sure like Miss Rodriguez to be as involved as possible, and made her cling to the vehicle moving 25 miles per hour for a close-up of her on the rig that lasts all of 3 seconds. Sure she appreciated that. Number 2, Cliffhanger pays a stuntman $1 million to hopefully not die. Way back in 1993, special effects weren't nearly up to the level they are today, so it might be easy to give Sylvester Stallone's Cliffhanger a pass when it comes to employing ridiculously dangerous stunts. But also keep in mind that Terminator 2 Judgment Day had come out 2 years earlier, so think about that while also reconciling the fact that stuntman Simon Crane was paid $1 million to perform a single stunt. It set the Guinness record for costliest aerial stunt ever performed, and was awarded dumbest thing anyone has ever agreed to do on the set of a Stallone movie too. Not sure which of those says more about this stunt. The stunt involves ziplining between 2 very real airplanes that were flying 15,000 feet above the ground. So hopefully Crane's take-home pay was $1 million plus 1 fresh pair of pants. I'd need 2, possibly even 3 for that. Number 1, Tony Jaa repeatedly performs a real-life video game fight. You know how you get done watching a kung fu movie like Enter the Dragon, for example, and you think to yourself, that was awesome, but also I call BS. It's improbable to think that Bruce Lee could beat the sweatpants off an entire dojo with nothing more than a devil may be terrified of me attitude. And it's impossible to think he won't be a tad winded afterward too. But in the case of The Protector, you will notice that lead actor Tony Jaa is noticeably sluggish at the end of one of the film's key fight scenes. In fact, he's so tired that some of his final punches and kicks seem to be thrown in slow motion. If during that scene you were busy chastising Jaa for being lazy and not putting a little stank behind what are supposed to be devastating strikes to his enemies, you might have missed the fact that this 4+ minute scene has 0 cutaways. That's right, Jaa, a Thai martial artist, performs one of the longest single-shot fight scenes in movie history, beating up bad guy after bad guy while moving up several flights of stairs for more than 4 solid minutes without a single break in the action, unless you count the multiple limbs being snapped. It obviously took forever plus 3 days to film the entire scene. To add insult to so many injuries, near the end of the 8th take, the film ran out before they could capture the last few movements, and so they started all over again. It's practically a guarantee that Jaa broke a few extra limbs that day. It was all worth it in the end though, as that was one hell hell of a fight scene. If you've not seen it already, go and treat yourself.